Welcome to The Other Three Amigos, Las Damas, your weekly unofficial SSE Airtricity Women's Premier Division podcast. With Declan McCormack, Eileen Ring and John O'Sullivan. So sit back, put the feet up, because it's TOTAP time.
In this episode of The Other Three Amigos Las Damas, Decky and Eileen are joined by Laura Heffernan, manager of DLR Waves, to dive into the latest in Irish women's football. They celebrate the Irish under-17s victory, discuss key player transfers, and explore Laura's journey to earning a pro licence, challenges faced by women in coaching. They also touch on Chloe Singleton's injury, Athlone Town's resilience, and the controversies surrounding recent match officiating. Plus, a look ahead to the upcoming Cup quarter-finals.
Hello and welcome to TOTAP Las Damas, Season 4, Episode 21, Episode 226 of the full TOTAP offering. We are the award-winning podcast. We are now on Patreon. You can find us there at patreon.com/TOTAP. As always, every week we do ask, retweets are very important to help the pod grow, and our DMs are always open. I'm Declan McCormack, your host of Las Damas. And this week, I only have one amiga with me, as John O'Sullivan is in Spain, sunning himself, Eileen. So it's just down to you and me this week. But we do have a special guest coming up to make up for John not being here.
Absolutely. And I think she'll more than make up for John, to be honest.
Do you think she'd be more interested in John would be in the podcast?
She will be, all right.
Just between you and me, we won't tell anybody.
We won't say it to John, but she definitely will be like, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I think he'd enough. Yeah, definitely. I can actually picture him out in Spain. Of all the people we've spoken to so far, I actually think this is the one that he'd be most annoyed by. That this is the one he missed.
Yeah,
you know?
His poor little ginger head burning away out in Spain now, raging silently to himself.
Hey, John, hope you enjoyed the holiday anyway, sir. We look forward to having you back next week. So that special guest is the one and only Laura Heffernan, manager of DLR Waves and holder of a pro license. So lots of interesting questions and chat to come with Laura when she joins us later on in the pod. As always, we'll start with the last week in Irish women's football. And since we have been away, the Irish under-17s beat Northern Ireland 3-1 earlier today. And they were captained by Ella Kelly of Shamrock Rovers. I think quick turnaround for Ella. She came on as a substitute last night in the Avenir All-Ireland Cup final against Galway. Started a couple of weeks back in the league against Cork City and was very, very impressive. So I didn't realise she was captain of the Irish under-17 side at the time, but it's probably not surprising that she is, just based on ability alone.
Yeah, she's been brilliant. Anytime we've seen her for Shamrock Rovers this season, she's been really impressive. And I think you can't really overlook the quick turnaround from a cup final. That, ultimately she'll have been very disappointed after last night to then be able to get in the car, go up the road and play and captain our country. Incredible achievement. And brilliant from James Scott getting those games as well, because it's obviously a big turnover in squads at underage level each year. So to be able to get them and get them in a game environment would be brilliant ahead of the qualifiers whenever they are. Probably October time will be the first stage of qualifiers. So again, I think just good coaching from him, getting a look at players in the environment that you want to be looking at them in. So and a great win as well.
Yeah, look, we've always said it in this podcast, if every Irish underage coach was as diligent and as competent as James Scott, the underage game in this country would probably be further along than it is at the moment. But hopefully that's something that the FA are building towards in the coming years. Maria O'Sullivan, formerly of Galway United, once upon a time at Cork City, joined Watford during the week, Eileen. That's a good move for her, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a really, really good move, good positive move for her. She obviously hasn't got the game time she maybe would have thought she was going to get at Galway. So look, she's had a brilliant move. She was outstanding when she was at City. She really was. She was brilliant. And as a young player, she captained us. I know we lost that cup final, but she captained us that cup final season in 2020. And she was the captain in a really experienced squad. So I think that speaks volumes for her as a leader and for her character as well. And probably doesn't surprise me. If people don't know her, she's from a big sporting family in Cork. They're steeped in Ballincollig basketball, and so it doesn't surprise me to kind of see her kicking on. And I hope she does really, really well over there now. And goalkeeper's a hard position, isn't it? Because it's not like an outfield player where you're going to get chances. You probably get one opportunity and you either take it or you don't. So look, I'm sure she'll be ready and willing when called upon at Watford. So yeah, a really exciting move for her.
Oh, I have to admit, I was kind of surprised when I saw her come. As you said, she kind of ended up being third choice at Galway. To get a move to a championship club in England, I mean, I'm not taking anything from her ability. I'm just saying that it was one that I kind of went, oh, that's interesting, you know, as in not something I really expected to happen.
Yeah, I think it probably took everybody a bit by surprise. But like, she obviously, as I said, she was excellent with City. She did really, really well in the States. She was in college just outside New York, I think. So look, these kind of they'll have their YouTube clips and things like that for scouts. And like, obviously, look, it hasn't worked out for her at Galway, but she's been behind two good keepers, and maybe she didn't sign for Galway until just before the season started. She might have really had an opportunity to really stake a good claim up there. So you would think obviously that the move is based off her previous things as opposed to her time at Galway. But as said, like, I just think it's a great move for her, and she's young. She's very young, and as we know, keepers really have a high ceiling as they get older. I suppose more so than other players. So I think she still has a very, very big future in the game. Just because she didn't feature at Galway, I wouldn't read too much into that.
Yeah, and to be fair, Phil Trilla did declare on national television last night that he has the best keeper in the country in Jess Berlin. So opportunities were obviously going to be limited for Maria if that's how Phil sees things.
Yeah, 100%. And look, I think they signed another keeper as well a few weeks ago. So maybe, look, we probably should have maybe had a hint that Maria was on the move at that point as well. But yeah, he certainly has good options in that department. But there's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. And finally, I don't know how to phrase this correctly, to be honest with you, because we've heard two different things. So we'll say it's a rumour that may well be happening, that Casey Howe is on the verge of leaving Athlone to join Nottingham Forest in England. Eileen, another one. Obviously, Casey Howe is an exceptional striker. She had a bad injury last week, which is obviously going to keep her out for a period of time. Is she actually, in a way, selling herself short here with Nottingham Forest, in your opinion?
I actually think she is, to be honest. I know, like, players can be very keen to get it across the water. But you know, now why I thought so, like, initially I was like, oh, look, fair play to her. I saw Nottingham Forest were playing Stoke today. I think they beat them. And I'm like, oh, they're at the same level as Stoke. All you have to do is a quick search there of Stoke women and see the absolute nightmare stories that have come out from two of their players recently after receiving injuries and the treatment or lack thereof they were given from their club. So to me, that's a slight concern at that level, that if you get badly injured, the club's very, very quick to wash their hands of you. For me, I think Casey is excellent, and I think she's coming into a Northern Irish squad. She's a regular now in that squad. She's now starting in that squad. And I just wonder, was there a bigger move there for her in November, maybe to a championship club once the season here is over? But look, at the same time, she goes over, and if she lights it up with Nottingham Forest, she'll get that championship move anyway. I appreciate players want to get over into kind of a more professional environment in terms of they might be training in the morning. I don't know what Nottingham Forest setup is like, so I'm not going to lie and say I do. But yeah, for me, I think she's probably a level above that. But look, as I said, I wish her well if she goes. I really miss watching her. I think she's been incredible. She was brilliant at Sligo. She's been excellent for Athlone, and a big loss for the league. But look, that's where we're at with the league at the moment, and players are putting their hands up and they're getting these opportunities elsewhere. But I suppose a bit like the men's game, I think there just needs to be a little bit of a fine line about players, as you just said, not selling themselves short either in terms of where they're going, not being so desperate to leave in a hurry that maybe they're going at a level that's not necessarily a big step up, but it said, look, maybe Notts Forest have a brilliant setup, and I could be completely wrong, but I wish her the best, and I hope that, I suppose her main thing anyway is that she recovers from that injury.
Absolutely, yeah, and everybody here would also join in those well wishes if she does depart the league. It was a quiet weekend, so that's kind of all we have. So we'll take a look at the underage results. Now, John isn't here to have a deep dive, but we'll call them out anyway and see how we get on. The under-17 Tier 1, it was Bows 3, Athlone 2. Athlone were 2-0 up in that game. I was talking to somebody who was at that game, and they were full of praise for Bohemians' comeback, and particularly for the girl. I'm not going to try and pronounce her name, and I apologise to her if she's listening and her family. But she got 2 laid on, but she's only 14 playing National League under 17. So might be a star in the making there. Cork City 2, Wexford 2. In the Tier 2 North, it was Finn Harps 2, Sligo Rovers 1, Mayo 2, Drogheda 2, and Dundalk 0, Longford 0. Tier 2 South saw DLR Waves draw 1-1 with CK United. Kerry beat Cove Ramblers in Tralee, and it was St. Pat's 1, Peamount United 3. Now, if there's somebody from St. Pat's listening, and I know there won't be, but maybe they should have a look. The last time I looked at this, the clock was still running. So you get to, it was gone to, I had it open here now on the phone and now it's after disappearing. Sorry, it was Saturday's games, not today's games.
90 plus 241. Oh, sorry, that's Treaty actually. Treaty men.
That's Treaty, yeah, I know. I think they might have, they actually turned it off, yeah. It's turned off since I last looked, but it was up to 90 minutes plus 2,400 and something minutes, but it has since been turned off, so the gag isn't quite as good as it might have been. But anyway, in the under-19, there was only 2 games. Most of the clubs were off this weekend. Under-19 League Tier 2 North, Dundalk 4, Peamount 2, and in the under-19 Cup, it was Athlone 3, Waterford United 1. I'll ask you, Eileen, because I never get to ask you. Anything jumping out at you these days in the underage sections or anything from those results there jump out at you?
No, but I definitely would like to give that girl's name a chance. Kira Rosie Palova.
Okay, thank you. We might make you host next week. That might be a new development that comes from this.
If she is listening or her family are listening, I am so sorry for just butchering your surname, but do please send us a phonetic pronunciation, because if she's doing that well at 14 years of age, we're going to need to pronounce it in the coming seasons anyway, so we'd like to get it right. That's
true. Yeah. No, I hope that information that I got was correct. So
great.
Don't. Yeah, you could check it, but nah, we just throw it out there, see what happens. Sure, can't be that bad, We're praising people. It's not like we're having to go off Shamrock Rovers or something where it doesn't matter whether we're right or wrong, just as long as we get to say it. Eileen, we'll move to the match reviews, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave the 2 big games on Saturday to the end. So we'll start in Wexford Park on Saturday evening. Wexford 1, Peamount 1. A better point for Peamount, the way they went. They found themselves 1 down, got back into it, 1-1. Is that fair to say, or will Wexford be kind of kicking themselves that they didn't hold on to the lead or push on and actually win the game?
No, I think, look, on the balance of it, a draw was probably a fair result. It was really, really good game. I thought Peamount started really brightly, and suddenly they have a really big shout for a penalty and it's not given, and 30 seconds later Wexford have scored, like the ball's in the net. They just break really, really quick. I thought I was really impressed by Anya Walsh. Now, Jason Shanahan gave out to me on Twitter for being too nice or being not harsh enough. But you're wrong, Jason. Like, Anya Walsh is released by Ellen Malloy and she outruns Jetta, and there's not too many players who can do that. Look, maybe and she holds her off as well and she finishes well. Maybe the keeper should do better, but I just think it's a brilliant, brilliant goal, and I don't think you're going to see too many players. And to be fair, as the game went on, Jetta, she probably was the standout player on the pitch for me. But I think Peamount reacted well. Now, if they had a shout for a penalty that I kind of thought was a penalty, Wexford had a stonewall one not given. Like Reid Burke comes off her line, she clearly takes the legs from Keola Bergen. It's a penalty. I don't know how he doesn't give it. I thought Kylie Murphy might have an aneurysm trying to explain the rules of the game to him, but the equalisers, Becky Watkins scores an equaliser, and it's another kind of contender. Like every weekend we have these real big standout goals, don't we? And it's another brilliant strike, and probably a good one for her that's a bit special because she is back at Peamount after being at Wexford, where maybe she'll feel she didn't get that much game time. So I think it was a particularly sweet goal for her. But no, it kind of just followed in that. It was end-to-end stuff. Both sides had chances. I think it was just one of those where I think they could probably still be there and there wouldn't have been another goal. Two keepers did well. I thought Jane Merrin again was brilliant. Some of her shot stopping really is spectacular. She's not the biggest of goalkeepers, but that really doesn't hold her back whatsoever. She's well able to cover every inch of that goal, and she had a couple of incredible saves. One from Karen Duggan in the first half. Karen had a long distance shot, and I was like, oh my God, what a strike. And next thing, she just gets a hand to it. It's a really incredible save. But it was a good game. They're two sides, that I think would probably both be a little bit disappointed with their season so far. For Peamount, again, we spoke last week that I think the big thing for them is that they pick up results pre-Champions League. For Wexford, they're coming off that notorious free week that we always talk about, and maybe that showed a little bit, but no, really good game, and there's still not much to give between them on the league table, but I think Peamount will be glad to bounce back from Laura breaking their heart last week, do you know? Oh, hi, Laura.
What a link that is, huh? What a link that is. We're laughing now, folks. This is the second or maybe the third time we've done this because I've just been a disaster since we started. But Laura, we started the big news recently. You became the third woman to get their pro license through the FAI. There are actually 4 women who hold the qualification in the country, with Lisa Fallon being the 4th who did it outside of the FAI's courses. But on a personal level, what does that mean to you, Laura?
Look, it's something I've had a little bit of time to reflect on now. I suppose it's about a month now, I think, since graduation. So it's something that I'm immensely proud of. It's been a pretty long journey. I think it's 12 years now I'm involved in the National League. So it's yourself with football. Sometimes there's more downs than upsides. So it's something that I've had a lot of help with. The FAI, obviously Wexford, Shells, DLR. I've had a lot of support with all the clubs that I've been involved with. But just to achieve that, I suppose now at this point and have that done, it's something that it's been a lot of hard work, but glad to have now.
As I said, you're one of only a few women in the country that have achieved that level of expertise in coaching. This is probably an unfair question already, but do you feel that you'll get the same chances and the same opportunities that the men in your class who graduated with you will get? No, that's the honest answer. And I think I've already experienced that within the National League. And not. I don't even know the right way to word this, but my CV within the country, I would like to say within women's football is decent, and I would feel that at times I have been probably overlooked for certain things. But look, it is what it is, and it's something I suppose that is changing and it is improving. But I've been very lucky as well. Like I said, the clubs that I've just mentioned, they've put a lot of trust in me over the years and given me opportunities where others haven't. So on one side, I don't feel probably that I have been given fair opportunities at all times, but those clubs themselves have been very good to me. So look on the positives. Absolutely, looking at the positives. Can I just ask you, I was going to ask you about one club and I won't, because I think I said this on a previous podcast and I don't want to go back to it, but have you applied for jobs within the men's game? Senior positions within the men's game? No. Okay. I was given bad information, so. Somebody told me you had applied for the Bows men's job the last time it came up.
No, something happened, and I don't know if it was a bit of someone just having a bit of a laugh or whatever, but there was a bit of a betting screenshot came out, and I don't know if it was legit or not, but I was somewhere up there in the top 3 of the betting to get the Bows job, which we all had a bit of a laugh about, because I think I was actually going in on my last pro license block at the time, which the boys got a great laugh out of. So it was out there, but yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, but and you're laughing and smiling now, saying, "Oh, I was in the top 3," but with your qualifications and your experience in the game, there is no real reason why you shouldn't be in the top 3 if you did put your name forward for a job like Bows or whatever club it might be. Bows is just the one I'm using now.
Yeah, look, I like to think that at some point we will see more kind of female coaches involved in men's clubs. I don't see why it can't happen. Look, I know it's an ongoing argument in relation to women involved in men's football. It's our old friend Joey Barton likes to have his opinion on it and things like that. But look, I don't see why it can't happen down the line at some point. But yeah, it'll take a club to take a big chance, I suppose, to do that and take maybe the flack that comes with it.
No, that is true, and as you said, it will be flack, but it's uneducated flack. I mean, it just comes from the old keyboard warriors. Football is a men's game, and only men understand football. Same lad who's writing it doesn't understand the difference between 4-4-2 and 4-3-3. It is nonsensical stuff that comes out, especially off social media these days. A lot of the time. What have you made of your own season so far this year, Laura? It's probably a tough start, but you're up and running now, to be fair.
I think frustration is the best way of putting it. Look, don't get me wrong, we've had 2 or 3 absolute stinkers. We've had 2 or 3 really, really poor performances in the first half of the season, and we know that. And there's nobody will self-analyse more than what myself and the girls do. So we know where we're at in certain points, but we've also had some really, really good performances. And I think personally, and people might not agree, but I think we're probably maybe 4 or 6 points better off than where we are on the table at the moment. If we go back to the game in Greenogue, that penalty in the second half, for me was very, very soft. First game of the season against Rovers, again, soft penalty. Some people might not agree, but you look at some of the games yesterday, the Wexford one especially, there's 2 stonewallers in that for me, and they're not given. So
yeah.
It's just consistency really in that kind of thing. But they were 2 really good performances that I think we deserved a little bit more out of. At Loan a few weeks ago in the bowl, where I think we had 3 or 4 1v1s in that where we should be scoring. If we're being really critical, we should be scoring in those games, and it takes an absolute worldly of a goal from Athlone to win the game. So we've put in some really, really strong performances, but it's just consistency. We've been good at times, and then at times we've let ourselves down, and especially with little individual mistakes. So, but look, you're going to get that from a team that's only realistically running together a year now. That team was freshly built last year when you look at the transfer windows we've had, and a lot of young players as well. So you're going to get those individual mistakes, but yeah, look, some positives, and then areas that we know we definitely have to improve on.
I'm going to leave Eileen jump in here because you've mentioned transfer windows, and I know she has a question that ties in with that.
Yeah, I suppose, Laura, how hard is it for you and for the squad, I suppose more so you, to know that as soon as a player kind of sticks her head up and is performing week in, week out, that there's going to be a number of clubs across the river or over town that are kind of going to flash a few bob, maybe that you're not in a position to do. And how is it hard to always have that turnover? I know a lot of clubs would go through it, but you seem to be particular kind of fodder as clubs move, that you're always pulled from, you're always hit the hardest by it. And I think a lot of people fail to acknowledge that.
Yeah, I think, we always lose 1 or 2 maybe in a transfer. And now we're going back maybe 2 or 3, 4 seasons. There's always a little bit of coming and going. And look, that's expected. That happens with every club. I think, the Rovers window, we'll just call it the Rovers window, when they came in and all the movement happened, that was unbelievably crazy, in the sense that, think we lost 15 out of our squad of 20 in that Christmas window. And, Graham was obviously still there at the time, and it was just such a slog to just even get a squad together to compete that season. And luckily we had won the 19s league the year before. And a lot of those players, we just pulled them up, and, some of them weren't ready, some of them, but we had to do it. And I think the following summer window, then we lost Joy Ralph to Rovers, and then Katie Malone and Sarah McKevitt left in the same window. So by the end of last season, it was a completely new squad, bar I think it was Eve Badana, Jess and Nicole Kehoe. I think they're the only three that were left. So to see out the season last season, we done okay. We had some good performances. But to be where we are now, I think we've showed, a good unity within the squad, and we didn't lose anyone in the first window. Starting off the season, and we've had a good kind of 6 or 8 months together now, and you can see definite signs of improvement in performances. So, we've been kind of a little bit more stable in the last maybe 12 months. Then obviously we lose Michelle in this window, which was disappointing, obviously, because, she'd been playing so well for us, and not just on the pitch. Michelle is a great character as well. So, it was hard losing her from the group as well. But yeah, it's difficult, but, all we can do is keep trying to kind of provide as much as we can for the girls, and hope that, they grow a love for the club that they want to stay.
And is that like something that you can say, like, you're going to get game to, like, almost that you can use it as a carrot for players as well? Not that you want to be a kind of a selling club, but that it's clearly has been an incredible platform for a number of players, like even somebody like Kate Mooney, who's went on and has played professionally and things like that. Can you use that as, I suppose, as said, a carrot to attract players when you probably don't have the financial backing that some of the other clubs have?
Yeah, like we had a very kind of frank discussion about this at the start of the season, and like you can see with other clubs, the likes of Treaty and that, like we've been inundated with CVs from, American players, Canadian players, and we made the decision that what we want to do is kind of ingrain ourselves in the area, in kind of Dunleary, and like we're working with a lot of partner clubs now. I think it's 9 now we're up to in total. So we made the decision now where, we want to focus on our academy a little bit, bring those players through. And, you look at the likes of Keelan Dodd, Aisling Meehan, who've been great for us the last couple of weeks. They've come from local clubs in the area, and they're with us now. I think, Keelan is with us maybe, 3-4 seasons now. And she's getting her awards now with the first team. And it's getting those players to kind of come through and then keep them. That's the big problem. Like we've never had any problem developing players. We've never had any problem attracting young players. But then, like you said, as soon as they start kind of, I nearly get the fear when any of our girls get an international call up, because, probably, Shamrock Rovers or someone are going to be knocking on the door the next 6 months' time. So, but like hopefully, if we can keep just offering the girls, that chance to play first team football, and we look after them, really, really well. And, hopefully we can keep that core group together and start pushing up the table. That's the main aim.
Laura, can I just ask you, and Eileen referenced it in her initial question, that nobody really acknowledges the amount of development that DLR has done for the whole league, especially probably the other Dublin clubs. UCD always get mentioned that, like, oh, look at all the great players that have come through UCD and now populate other teams around the league. Does it frustrate you that, okay, it obviously probably annoys you that you lose the players, but does it frustrate you that you don't get spoken about in that way and in that manner when other managers and other clubs are talking about their players? Like, there's no acknowledgement that, well, we didn't nurture this player. This player was nurtured at DLR and we came along and took them at a time that suited us.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think we might have lost 7 or 8 players from our 17s and 19s to Rovers over the last kind of year. It's hard. It is difficult because, if you look at our 19 squad that won the league, like, we were going out and playing against a team, against Rovers that had Maria Reynolds, Jamie Thompson, all of those, Jane Merrin now, she's at Wexford, brilliant keeper. All those players played against us in that final, and our girls done a great job. And, then all of a sudden you're thinking, right, we've a really good core to come through here to the first team. We had a really good core at 17s, and we're thinking, right, the next kind of 18 months looks really bright. And then all of a sudden, they're gone, bang, and you're starting from scratch again. So, it can be hard. And, even more so, it's hard on the players that are there at the club, because they can see a progression and they can see where things are starting to look really good, and then all of a sudden, bang, you're kind of hit again. So it's difficult, but I suppose until we can kind of, it's down to us a little bit as well, until we can start stringing together consistent performances on the pitch and pushing up the table. Look, we all know what players are like as well. They want to be successful, they want to be competing for trophies, and it's up to us to kind of do the job on the pitch as well, so that players want to come and play for us. But look, we've had a good window this time around. Abby Brophy's been a brilliant signing for us. Obviously, getting Rachel Doyle back is huge. Shannon Cody coming in from Rovers, I don't think that's something that would have happened maybe 12 months ago. So, there are players now that are kind of contacting us and wanting to come and play for us. So, like, it is up to us now to do the job on the pitch as well.
I do feel like I should, because I always like to apologise to people's faces. We did have a go of you guys not announcing Shannon Cody, when in fact she had announced her, and I did apologise last week for doing it. But while you're here face to face, I'd also like to apologise to you for that. It was completely my fault. So hopefully you can forgive us in time.
The girls have a little bit of a laugh out of me, because, like I said, I've started listening to the podcast, and I'd come in after the day comes out and say, well, what did they say about us this week? And I'd say, they were actually really nice about us this week. Or they say, what did they say about us this week? Well, not so nice this week, so look, we need a big performance. So, I'm using that as a bit of a tool now, so it's good.
Okay, that's fair enough. Listen, I was going to leave this to later on, but it probably ties in well here now what we've been speaking about for the last 5 minutes or so. But what's the future for DLR as a club, Laurie? As you said, it's difficult, and I kind of have this presumption, I guess, and it's probably wrong, but there's yourselves and Piedmont are the only two standalone clubs in the game at the moment, and I look at St. Pat's and clubs like that who don't have a big women's part of their club and who need to do so for licensing and that, and I just kind of presume at some stage that you guys might get amalgamated or something like that. Are things like that a real possibility down the road, in your opinion?
There's been talks about it previously, and I think I said this I might have been speaking to Aaron Clark or someone before, and there's obviously downsides to being a standalone women's club. We know that, but on the other side of it is there is upsides to it as well, in the sense that we very much control what happens. We're not reliant on, if a men's club is doing well, your budget is better, or then all of a sudden the men's club drops down the league and your budget is cut and you're trying to, juggle around players and things like that. So, there is plus sides to being standalone. Piedmont have shown it's not a case of being a standalone club means you can't win trophies. You can. But yeah, it's all opinion, really. Like, I don't see being a standalone club a problem. What we do struggle with a little bit sometimes is that players will say, I want to play for a big club. So they would obviously see a Bowes or a Shells or a Shamrock Rovers as a big club in the league. For me, big clubs in the league are Wexford, Shells and Piedmont, the ones that have, that they have history, they've won the trophies, they've done the job. So for me in women's football, they're the three biggest clubs in women's football at the moment. But again, it's all opinion,
Yeah. Can I just categorically state that in no guise are Bohemian, Shamrock Rovers or Shelbourne big football clubs in any way, shape or form, okay? Just to annoy everybody this week. The difficulties for you, Laura, and maybe for the girls around the club and just people in the league in general, in combining football with life and the demands of life and everything else, jobs, etc., etc. How difficult is that? And is it becoming more difficult as the league moves forward and progresses and moves more towards part-time and full-time and whatever way the FAI want to take it over the next few years?
Yeah, of course it is. Even ourselves, we ask an awful lot of the girls. The girls are in 3 nights a week now, most weeks. Then obviously they've their game on their Saturday. You've some girls that are kind of tipping a little bit away with the 19s as well to keep their game time up, so that's another day. And then they have their gym day as well on top of that. So, they're as close to being professional as they can be without being professional. So there's a lot of demands, and even ourselves, we've had 1 or 2 players that have had to step away this year because of careers and things like that. And you can't you can't ask them not to do that, because we can't. There's very few clubs can offer them what they need to be full-time footballers. So I think that's, maybe, I know Collie O'Neill actually mentioned it in an article this week. That's maybe where our high potential players or our international players, we have to look at something to try and keep them in the country, whether it's, I don't know, centralised contracts or something from an educational point of view, or I don't know, something that they don't have to be going and working, these part-time jobs on top of everything else they're trying to juggle as well.
You just raised something there that I've spoken about a few times, centralised contracts and centralised kit deals and all this kind of thing. And it's a very kind of American-based way of doing things, and, Major League Soccer and all that kind of thing. But are they areas that you would favour, even if there was just research groups set up, or somebody goes and has a real look at that kind of a setup?
Yeah, I mean, the easy thing for everyone to do was say we need more money. That's, the league probably hasn't progressed as quickly as what we thought it would have. We're into what now, our 13th season, if I'm right, something like that. And it probably hasn't gone as quickly as what we would have liked. Now, there has been massive strides, from the first couple of seasons when I was at Wexford. It's chalk and cheese to what it was back then. But I do think there's kind of short-term things that we could be doing, that it's not just we need more money. For me, I think we need to go 21s or 23s on the 19s league. I think the amount of kind of really good, talented players now that are coming through, and they're not going to have anywhere to go. The clubs just aren't there to take them. You've got really, really good, talented young players now that are sitting on senior benches because they can't get game time. And that's only going to get worse as the league goes. And, you bring in then a 15s or whatever the next plan is, I don't know. But, these players keep coming through. At 17 or 18, not all these girls are ready for first team football. And we're losing them because, they're getting disheartened by not playing. And I know you guys spoke about it last week in terms of maybe players filtering back to Eastern Women's League or something like that, which is great. But for me, if we could go 21s or 23s, give those girls another 2 or 3 years to see kind of how far they can push themselves. And then if they're not ready for senior football, then they can drop back. But I think at the minute, the 19s league, it's been brilliant. The academy teams have been absolutely brilliant for the development of the league. But we're at a point now where we're losing a lot of good young talent, I think, because we just can't sustain the numbers that are coming through.
I think the 19s goes to 20s next year, doesn't it? Am I correct in saying that?
I don't know. I think you might have more info than me on that one.
I think it follows the men's path. The men's went from 19s to 20s this season, and I think the plan is for next season the women's league goes from 19 to 20s. But even as you said, 20s, 19s is not a huge difference. It probably doesn't need to get to 21s or 23s. Kieran Kilduff was on here not so long ago, and he had a conversation about 21s and 23s and home-based squads and everything else. I don't want to ask you whether you agree with Kieran, because that's putting words in your mouth. But I mean, do you believe Kieran had a point in what he in what he was saying?
Look, I mean, I think when we talk about those home-based squads and things like that, a lot of people really liked them when they were there and Vera was doing them, and but I know there was a lot of players that were called in and stepped out because they felt like they were just going up to tick a box, and that there was no real kind of reason for them being there. So yeah, look, I mean, I don't know if it's a case of, we do camps for, those home-based international players or the younger international players. I don't know what the right answer is. But I do think there's more that we can be doing, as clubs and as a league, rather than just saying we need more money. There has to be other avenues that we need to be looking at, that we can keep young players here. We can keep developing those young players and not losing them, like I said, dropping out of football now because they're getting disheartened. And I think it's just a discussion that needs to be had in terms of how we best move forward.
Like you've referenced a few times, Laura, since we started speaking about, it's not just that we need more money. So are there specific areas that you see that the league can develop, be it underage, be it in the senior setups, without a need for investment, without a need for money?
And look, I'd be stupid to say that we can do everything without money. That's naive. But I know ourselves, we've been trying to push match day attendances and things like that, and we've been trying to do that through through camps and getting the girls involved with our academy. Like we've just started our own development academy where, like I was saying, we have those 9 partner clubs. But the start of the season, I think we did 25 or 30 free sessions where all those clubs sent up players every Monday evening. I think we had 60 or 70 kids up every Monday where we just did those free sessions for them, and the senior players were in or around and meeting the kids and things like that. And we've even noticed that there's been a little pickup in our attendances and young kids going around with the jerseys and stuff on that we wouldn't have seen excuse me, this time last year. So I think there is a little onus on the clubs as well. Like we seen, like when we played up in Galway there a couple of months ago, they had been out in the schools and they'd been, they had the players out meeting kids and things like that, and what we had nearly 4,000 of an attendance at it. So there is a little onus on the clubs as well to kind of keep pushing that. But of course, everything is easier with money. There's there's no way around that.
Just on that day in Galway, did you find that a very different experience with so many people in the ground? It's probably something new to you that you hadn't really experienced before.
Well, the result in the performance wasn't something I want to be reminded of. It was brilliant. Like there was an unbelievable buzz, and I even found myself trying to shout information on. The girls were looking at you, they're like, I can't hear what you're saying, and but yeah, it was fantastic. And look, despite the result, it was something brilliant to be involved in, and just to look up and see that amount of people there at a women's game that's phenomenal.
Possibilities for you guys to experience something like that again later in the season? You play Sligo in the Cup next weekend. If you manage to get over that, all of a sudden you're in a Cup semi-final, and there's a big carrot waiting at the end of that particular stick.
Yeah, look, it was one of the things that we highlighted at the start of the season. Obviously, we wanted to kind of close that gap on those mid-table teams from last year. I think we finished 15 or 18 points behind kind of that 6-7 place last year, which was quite a big gap. So that was one goal, was that we wanted to close that. And the other then was to have a good cup run. So, next Saturday is a big game for us. And we'd be hoping to put in a good performance. I always kind of laughed to the girls, and so I said to them, like, you go out against the big teams and you seem to really put it up to them. And, that's shown this season. I think most of our points have come from, playing those top teams. So it's making sure that we bring that consistency next Saturday. And yeah, like you said, you get to a semi-final, you never know.
Yeah, it's would you say it's the biggest game of your season so far?
Nah, I treat every game the same. Every game is a big game for us.
Couldn't get you to say it, huh? Couldn't get you to say it. Yeah, look, Eileen, is there anything you want to jump in with?
Yeah, just obviously player, coach, manager. What's you're someone who's been around the league since the start. What's been your highlight? Because you've obviously had some, I know you're saying there's a lot of lows, but you've had some really, really high moments as well. So what has been your highlight?
Look, there's been a few. Obviously, first league win with Wexford was special. Especially hometown club. I still have a great love for my time at Wexford. First FAI Cup, the scandal of the Cork boys warming up, or it wasn't the Cork boys who wasn't warming up on the other half of the pitch. Was it Cork?
Blame Lisa Fallon.
First FAI Cup. That was the unbelievable feeling, and obviously Champions League then as well. But to be honest, the two underage titles have been pretty special for me, in the sense that I've spoken openly about leaving Wexford and how hard it was and how it just didn't work out and whatnot. But to take that step back and then going with another age group with Shells, with the 17s, and it was definitely a new test going back to that younger age group and how you deal with players and parents and the whole lot. And that 17s title was special, and then obviously to do it again at the 19s with DLR, completely different group, and again a team on paper where probably nobody would have given us a chance. The girls to go out and perform like they did that season was brilliant. So yeah, look, there has been a few, and look, I'm very, very lucky that I've had so much time in the National League, and obviously without the National League I wouldn't have achieved the pro license and things like that. So there has been lows, but overall it's something that I just love, and I say every season I'm not doing it again. This is it. It's the last one. But I take a couple of weeks off and I'm already planning for pre-season.
Which that leads me to my next question. Declan McCormack here has a big habit of moving managers on. Well, I'm about to move you on. You have a pro license. Is the, I suppose, long-term goal and dreams to maybe manage elsewhere? You see Chelsea Noonan obviously after getting a big job over in Birmingham. There's opportunities like that for you in your future, you would hope, or are you going to be staying in Ireland, do you think?
National team manager, obviously.
The long-term goal, yeah. Look, the long-term goal is obviously to work full-time in football. That has to be. I wouldn't. There's no point in going through what I've gone through if that's not an ambition. So it is certainly something that I want to do. The ideal scenario for me would be that happens in Ireland. I don't know if that's ever going to be the case or if it's going to happen anytime soon. For me, having spent and invested so much time in the game here, and I'm passionate about the game here, I want to see this league thrive and step on as much as possible. If that was to happen in 2 or 3 years' time and I've left, I'd be a little bit gutted with myself because I love the league here and I love football here. But look, I have to be realistic as well, and we'll see how it goes for the next kind of year or two, and then we might have to make a decision.
Just on that, so, and I think you probably answered this earlier on, but I'll just phrase it this way. Do you feel that you will ever get an opportunity to work in full-time football in the men's game in this country?
In the men's game, I don't know. I don't know. That's the honest answer. Is it something that I've ever thought about doing? Probably not. Like I say, I'm really invested in the women's league here, and I always have been, and something I'm really, really passionate about. So it's just not something that I've ever thought about. If it was to ever come about, would you think about it? Of course you would. Of course you would.
Sorry. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be dismissive of the women's game. It just feels like we're still so far away from those full-time opportunities existing in the women's game here.
Yeah, look at it, I can understand that. Look, how far away are we? I don't know. I don't know what the setup is for other managers. I don't know what other managers are getting or what their time is in terms of full-time or part-time or whatever the case may be. So I don't know how far away it is. I'd like to think that we are pushing in that direction. But how long it's going to be, I just don't know. That's the honest answer.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Look, finally, I'll leave you off with the easiest one of all. How do you see the role of women in general in football over the next 3, 5, 10 years in this country?
Oh, that's a good question.
Eileen
again,
is obviously manager at the moment. Hannah Digley is overseeing the development of women's and schoolgirls football in this country. So there may be some opportunities when the FAI and the FAI structures, and who knows what way they will change in the coming years. But, as I said, just kind of as a general overview, how do you see it?
I mean, I've always been one who said that I never want to be given an opportunity just because I'm a female.
Yeah,
I've always said that. I've always said if I'm not the best person to do something, then don't give it to me. But I do think that there's a lot of, very talented, very qualified coaches, and not just coaches, just women in football in general, that could have, a big impact on football here in the country. It's just about, I suppose it's about all of us, pushing ourselves forward and putting ourselves out there a little bit more and supporting each other as well. And, giving each other opportunities. That's something I'm big on, that, if there's female coaches or whatever that want to get involved in the club, it's something that I always look to do as much as possible. I think that's important as well, that we support each other and try and get each other as high up in these positions as possible.
Would you be somebody who would be encouraging your players, even at young ages, to maybe start the coaching badges? Or you probably see players who you believe will go on to coach, so are you somebody who encourages them from a young age to go start things out?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, we do try and encourage the girls as much as possible to get involved in our academy. Brona Kane is with us. She's done her coaching badges. We've had the goalkeeper Riggs. She's been in doing her goalkeeper coaching badges and things like that. And look, I've coached with the likes of Rihanna Jarrett over the years, and the girls are all very, very good coaches. And as they come to the end of their playing careers, whenever that might be, Anya Gorman and all the same, I think it's really important that they're supported and given opportunities to kind of embrace themselves in clubs here, and especially like young kids looking up at these girls, who wouldn't want to play for some of the players that have been in our league. And I think it's up to all of us to make sure that we support that as much as possible.
Fantastic. Eileen, have you anything left? Have you anything else?
No, I just want to give a shout out to Ron running your social media, because it's 10 out of 10. Like, it's absolutely tremendous. Like, it's so funny. It's brilliant. Like, stuff like that. I think even little things like that really help clubs. Like, it's because it was obviously something you didn't have someone in doing, and he's very, very funny, very witty. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, no, he does a great job, and so we've actually got a bit of stick for some of the stuff that goes out as well. But for me, if there's eyes on the club, and people are engaging and having a bit of banter, I suppose there's never anything
You're always doing well when you're upsetting people. That's half the battle.
Well, look, we were still mathematically in with a chance of winning the league there last week. So, he's doing a great job. And look, for us, it's brilliant. Anyone that's willing to give up their time and volunteer, and we're a very kind of united bunch in there. Whether it's coaches or people behind the scenes, like I said, we're a small club, so it's great to have people that have an interest. But yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, Ron had a fantastic tweet last night on his own personal post-to-post account, so I might read it out in a minute, or I might not. I'm undecided as of yet, but go check out post-to-post on Twitter and you can read it for yourself. I believe he was also responsible for the famous tweet last year when UCD were in the Premier Division and up in Dundalk. They drew in Dundalk, wasn't it? And Stevie O'Donnell was losing the rag about, Dundalk had so much possession, and the famous seagull tweet. I believe Ron was also responsible for that under the UCD Twitter account. So, which is that tweet is legendary in League of Ireland circles, So, yeah, Ron's definitely one of the good guys. Definitely one of the good guys.
Yeah, I'm sure there's more to come over the next couple of weeks, couple of big games coming up. So. I'm sure the excitement will take over at some point. We'll have a few more gems to come, I'd say.
Definitely. Listen, Laura, thanks a million for your time on a Sunday night. It's really, really appreciated. And best of luck to DLR for the rest of the season. And look, hopefully we might catch up with you face to face in Cork in a few weeks' time. We can have a chat in footpath and host that game. See how things go.
Brilliant. Thanks a million.
Cheers. Thanks a million.
Bye.
Eileen, before we were joined by Laura, we had just finished up with the Wexford Peamount game with your brilliant link into Laura's interview. So we back up to the start of Saturday. Shelbourne 1, Athlone Town 2. We had said last week it was the biggest game of the season so far. Man, it was... Look, firstly, I guess we should say... everybody at TOTAP Towers, everybody connected to the league, for everybody at every club, supporter, well-wisher, just wants to wish Chloe Singleton the very best. Obviously, she had a horrible injury. Delighted to be able to say that her recovery has begun. Seemingly, she's doing as well as can be expected at the moment. She did have surgery. It went well. Her leg is as good as it can be at the moment. Unfortunately, she broke her leg and dislocated her ankle. Look, fair play to everybody involved, the players, staff, ambulance crews, whoever was there, got it sorted, got Chloe to hospital. And as I said, just want to wish her the very, very best and the very best in her recovery. It's probably going to be a long one, Eileen, but your heart would go out to her genuinely, like.
Yeah, it's just one of those things you never want to witness. I was watching it on a stream, and it was really, really tough to watch. And I think, like, to be fair, everyone reacted really well. And look, it's you could see on the stream, it's a desperate injury straight away. And look, everybody noticed it straight away, apart from the referee who tries to continue the game, despite players roaring at her, like they're literally screaming in her face to stop the game. Again, like we spoke about her last week, I actually messaged her yesterday. Laurie Ryan was brilliant. Like, that's not an easy situation to go in and have to comfort someone. And she was brilliant again. And that's 2 weeks in a row where she said, like, stuff like that's traumatic, like, to deal with. Again, Pearl goes up. It's a really, really, like, it's a situation no one can ever even dream of being in, like, and she's brilliant. And I think you have to give someone like Pearl a huge amount of grace in that situation as well. Because it's not easy to go on and play a game either there. But I think both clubs handled it so well. I said they were all out very quick. She was off the pitch and into an ambulance really quick. I think sometimes in these situations you can see a lot of having to wait around for stuff. But no, she was... So, like, you just have to give huge credit. And then to the two sets of players, because as I said, I think we see in this league, there's a huge amount of friendships, there's a huge amount of respect off the pitch between players, and to go on and play a game in those circumstances, like, football kind of becomes secondary. Look, I know, again, it does, the game kind of kicks back into life, but like you said, I think their thoughts are only elsewhere, and our thoughts are, and like, Chloe's been brilliant this season. I think would have been in the mix for player of the season. She was having an absolutely unbelievable game up until the injury as well. Like, and it was, I suppose, interesting to listen to Kieran's interview afterwards. He's visibly quite emotional, but he's also saying, like, she's really struggled with little niggles this year. And from the outside, you'd never know, because, like, she's been one of the top performers in the league. As you said a few weeks ago, she's featured, I think, joined most in the team of the season. And you look, I just wish her the best of luck in her recovery. And I've no doubt she'll be a big voice in that Athlone dressing room for the rest of the season as well. And I think sometimes, like, on a day like that, when you have an injury like that, it kind of galvanised them, and they showed incredible character. They really did, like, because, like, back to the game, I think Athlone started brilliantly. Like, the first 30 minutes, they were absolutely outstanding. And then that happens. Then they concede a cracking goal. Brilliant finish from Gemma Quinn. Really outstanding strike from her. And, like, a team can capitulate there. They can capitulate really easily, and no one would ever judge them on the back of it. But they don't. And they're led there again. And I think a lot of it comes down to Laurie and what she's able to get and what Kieran is able to get out of this squad. And someone actually texted me after the game and said, Kieran, she should be calling him Jesus, because of his ability to turn water into wine at the moment, because he's getting so much out of that squad, like, an awful amount. Like, when we talk about, like, clubs like Shamrock Rovers maybe not getting enough out of the players, the individual talent they have, Athlone are just this incredible squad. Maybe without your standout superstars at times, but they don't need them, because, as I said, as a squad, they're so together and they're just willing to die with their boots on for each other. And it's just really impressive to watch. And said it's 2 weeks in a row they've had to witness their teammate have really bad injuries and be taken to hospital, and then try to focus on a game. And I think it's hard, but as he said, look, the equaliser again. And I messaged Pearl as well, and, like, you just have to give her grace in that situation. That's not a mistake she makes on a normal day. It is what it is. It's not a normal day. It's an equaliser. I think Brenda does really well. I think Brenda's finishing in general isn't great. It might get there, but she's not. She's unorthodox, and she's a handful, isn't she? Like, she's a really, really handful for, like, you don't know what she's going to do. I'm not sure she knows what she's going to do at times herself. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Colleen at times, that she never gives the defenders a break. Like, but it goes in, I think, at half time and fails to really reignite in the second half. As a contest, it's very even. And I suppose it has written all over it until the penalty. I know, a controversial decision. I text you when it happened thinking it was a penalty. I've watched it back about 100 times. 50 of the times I think it's a penalty. 50 of the times I think it's not. I think Amanda gives the option to the referee. And now that I'm going to mention the referee, we better talk about her. You cannot...
Look, just before we do, sorry. I asked her a couple of weeks back after Athlone were beaten by Peamount in the TG Carr game. if they had the know-how to win a league, you know. And I'll be honest, I still don't know if they have the know-how in inverted commas, but I don't know what the female equivalent of balls of steel is, right? And I don't know how you phrase it any differently. But I can't say that. You can say it. I can't say it. Oh my word. Yeah, like I'm not going to say tits of titanium on this podcast. Like it's just not going to happen, you know. So I'll stick with balls of steel anyway. You can say whatever you want, like, but yeah.
Imagine Wayne's face like, when he gets tits of titanium. Do a graphic there, please.
Oh my word! I'll be honest with you. I can't put into words. I think what I saw on Saturday, just in terms of mental fortitude, resilience, belief, balls of steel. Like, if it's just incredible, as you said, if they faltered, lost 3-0 after Gemma Quinn scores, and I don't think I've ever seen a ball hit that hard in a women's national league game before. I mean, it was just blinking, you miss it. Like, it's just bang past Katie Keane. It's just the ball, and it flies down and hits the metal stanchion running across the back of the goal and bounces back out. And people are unsure whether the ball's crossed the line or not. It was just hit that hard, you know. But yeah, it's just I don't think I've witnessed, like, if I was going to war, or if I was going into battle, I'd want those 11 players, those 15 Athlone players who were involved in Saturday, by my side, and just carry me into battle. And I know they'll die for me, like, you know. I know they'll die for the shirt, they'll die for their bodies, like, you know. It was. I don't know. I think, and maybe I'm over exaggerating a bit, but it was incredible to watch. I thought, especially second half. Obviously, half time gave people a time maybe to think about what had happened, and as you said, it didn't really ignite second half. But I never thought at any stage in the second half Athlone are going to lose this game.
No, yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Is that they just are, as you said, it's just this character to dig in deep, and a lot of that look has to come obviously from the players, but it comes from the sideline as well. Like, it does. Like, and to be fair, and you have to give credit to Tommy Hewitt before him as well, because that's something they've had since they came into the league. Like, they've been really hard to play against, hard to break down. They really do remind me of Wexford, kind of teams that Laura would have been involved with, like in say the 2014-15 time. Like, they just don't know where they're beaten, and while they don't at times have your standout superstars, they have players who can have moments, but instead of relying on that, they're just relying on the ability to just dig in and as we've said, like, die with their boots on. But I suppose it was just one of those games, and as I said, it's kind of a hard one to judge given what happened in it. But look, there's nothing won or lost yet, and I think both managers were keen to say that pre and post game. And they'll know that. I think both of those sides will drop points again, to be honest. Like, I don't think it's plain sailing, because the league is just nuts. And I do think they're obviously still both in the cup at this point in time anyway. So, like, you have that as a little side distraction as well. But again, it was good advertisement for the league. I think Shelburne need to, playing-wise, just park it, really. It's their first loss in the league. It's not the end of the world. They'd probably... better to lose now than to lose in 5 weeks' time when we don't have time to correct it. Shelburne Football Club need to sort out their commentary team. Okay, it's not like, it's just not good. Like, it's not good enough. They don't. Yeah. You have someone like, I'm just going to pick now. Like, obviously we've spoke well about Shauna doing it in the past. She's not doing it at the moment. I don't know why. Like, someone like Luke Cray. Luke did Shelburne's kit for years. He's a massive fan of the league. He's a Shelburne fan. Get someone like him up there. He knows everyone. Stop. The lad's football knowledge is very good, but, like, they're calling their own goalkeeper the wrong name. Like, that's disrespectful. Like that. I'm sorry. No, it really pissed me off the weekend. I just thought it wasn't good enough. I thought it was like, this is the biggest game of the season, and people will tune in and they could be leaving thinking the keeper has a different name than what's her actual name, because her own commentators don't know her surname. Like, that annoyed me now at the weekend, to be honest. But anyway, while I'm giving out, I'll go back onto the referee.
Can I just say, I didn't bring up the commentary team. That was Eileen.
That was me.
Okay?
Yeah,
but she's right, and I fully back what she's saying. I mean, you had the whole penalty incident where Larry Ryan was taking the penalty. Larry Ryan was taking the penalty. Larry Ryan scored the penalty. Kellyanne Brown scored the penalty, and then when it was pointed, I was sure that can happen. Like, I know nobody's getting paid, and I understand all that, but like, there has to be.
Well, there's volunteers,
just has to be
and
better.
like they had the lad in a couple of weeks ago that was quite good. So like they have people there. Like, so just as I said, like someone like Luke, get him up there. He's at the games anyway, so just get him up there, and he'd be really entertaining as well from my point of view, because he would not hold back. But anyway, while we're giving out the referee, terrible, genuinely, like. It was a game that was always going to bubble because it's a really big rivalry, okay? Like, we've seen it. We saw it earlier on in the season, probably another weak refereeing performance now that I mention it. We've seen it in the 2 cup finals. We've seen it in the league games. There's a real bite between these two teams because there's very little between them. Instead, they've had 2 cup finals against each other. They've been in a title race against each other. They're now in another one. And, like, I'm not blaming the referee because it's not her fault she's put in that position, but you have to get a referee who's out week in, week out, refereeing games to do that game. You have to have somebody who's really, really strong because she lost complete control of it. She lost control of it in the first half and it bubbled over a little bit at the end, and she's lucky like that it wasn't worse because I said she was so easily swayed by both sides. I don't think they're wrong for doing, like someone said, yeah, but side players and sidelines shouldn't be influencing referees. No, they shouldn't be, but this is football and this is what happens. So until rules come in to change that, it's going to continue to happen. It's not fair putting somebody in a position that she was clearly not capable to be in. And I don't know, was she just put in there because they were aware it was a big game and they wanted a woman refereeing it? But it's like whoever makes that appointment needs like give their head a wobble. Like that's not, it was really unfair on her and it was really unfair on the two teams. And honestly, at times it was borderline dangerous because she lost control of the game that much. It was tough to watch. Like it really was.
Yeah, look, I mean, in previous years, I've done a lot on referees and I've kind of tended to stay away from it this year because I think like there's been points and moments in games and obviously there was poor refereeing performances in general this weekend. I think, you know, you referenced Wexford and the penalty incidents down there that weren't given. You had this game, you had the All-Ireland Cup final, which we'll get onto in a minute, and none of the refereeing was outstanding, to be fair. I was stunned when I turned on the stream and saw Claire Purcell refereeing. I was just stunned, and I wasn't stunned because she was refereeing. I was stunned because from what I can tell, she's done one game in 4 years. I was like, this is not good. And that one game was the game at Turner's Cross between Cork City and Bohemians that TG Cahir showed, where Dorothy Groylick scored that brilliant goal in the last minute to win it for Cork City 3 weeks ago or a month ago, whatever it was. From what I can tell from just Googling and researching, that was Claire Purcell's first game since back around the 2020 Cup final. That's fair enough. There might have been injury, life breaks, whatever it is. It's brilliant that she's coming back into refereeing. The pitch up for a televised game in Turner's Cross, I thought was a little, because I think referees work on the basis that if I perform week in, week out, I'll get a big game. And the TV game on a Saturday night is the equivalent of a big game, I think, in the Women's National League. For somebody to come in cold and do it that night, I thought was like, okay. But sure, look, they know what they're doing. The biggest game of the season, the biggest league game of the season, the top two, you give it to somebody who's refereed one National League game in 4 years? No, just no. And I'm not talking about rewarding the referees or using it from that point of view. I'm talking about just the best referee that's available gets that game. Now, maybe somebody in the FA thought Claire Purcell was the best referee available. And if that's the way it was, then so be it. It just doesn't ring. It just doesn't ring true for me. It just doesn't ring true for me. But I've said for a while, you know, the whole refereeing department just needs to be redone. It needs to be rejigged, you know. You can see, we all know who's involved in it, etc., etc. It just doesn't look a good setup. And I feel for the referees because I keep feeling like they're being put in bad positions. And as you said, it's not her fault. Claire Purcell was put in a really bad spot on Saturday, I thought. Really unfair spot, because that game, as you said, was always going to be on edge. It was always going to be on knife. And it's like anything. If you're not doing something week in, week out, you lose your touch for it. You lose your feel for it. It takes a while to get it back. One game in 4 years and then thrown into that game, you're never going to have the touch and feel needed to referee that game, in my humble opinion. And it's not her fault. Owen Weirin had something to say afterwards about the only person who thought it was a penalty was the person who awarded it. Alex Kavanagh probably went a little bit further. I don't think there was anything wrong with what Alex said, but I still wouldn't be stunned if she got a letter from the FAI and maybe, you know, gets charged with something or other. We'll have to wait and see. The only thing is, if she does, none of us will ever know it's happened until such time as someday she's not on the team sheet, because they'll never tell anybody anyway. So how will any of us ever know? You know, but look, yeah, I don't blame Claire Purcell. It's a terrible appointment, and it's a terrible appointment not because they appointed her. If it was Alan Patchell or if it was, you know, any other referee, I would be saying the exact same thing. You don't give a referee a game of that magnitude when they've done one game in 4 years at this level, in my humble opinion anyway. Anything else to take out of that before we move on, Eileen?
No, as I said, like, and I think, again, just to, like, there's nothing won yet. Like, there's a lot of football yet to be played. But like massive 3 points. And I think Laurie said it in her interview with Aaron Clark afterwards, like they haven't had a win in Talca Park before. So again, like mentally that's a big thing for that Athlone side. And again, just digging in really, really bad circumstances. So yeah, it's just a huge 3 points for them. And it's nice to see like just a little bit of excitement. Like they had a decent crowd up at the game. The Athlone people, like you could hear them quite clearly on the stream. Yeah. You could see like fans of like people around Athlone are really buying into that team and what they're achieving. Why would they not? Because as you said, like they're everything you want to see in players that represent your club, because they'll just leave it all out there for the shirt. But yeah, look, I think Shelbourne will bounce back, and it's going to be an interesting title race because Galway aren't out of it yet. They're absolutely not. Like they win their games in hand and they're back on terms with Shelbourne. Like, so I think really good in really good end to the season coming.
And Galway play both Shelbourne and Athlone at home in 2 of the last 3 games of the season. So it's going to be interesting if Galway can just, as you said, win their games in hand. We will get to Galway in a second, but before we do, Eileen, earlier today, Treaty won 2-1 away in Sligo. Big win for Treaty. Kind of a game that you felt they had to win, I guess. Scored twice, and Daniel Steer didn't get either of them. Shock horror.
No, and she was really good. They had like that front three of like Lawley and Griffin on either side of Steer, and it was really effective. And that's their first goal comes from that. It's Lawley breaks a really, really good break, and she finds Cara Griffin, and not even I would have missed that chance. Like so, but it was a brilliant goal. She does well she knows what Katie Lawley's going to do, and she's in the right place for the tap in. It was a big win for Treaty, and as you said, they needed it. But again, I was impressed with Sligo. Tommy Hewitt was out. One of my a really random favourite Cork City player, Conor O'Grady, was in the dugout for Sligo.
Really? Yeah.
I used to love him when I was a kid. I don't know why.
Didn't see that.
There's a random one, but Sligo are very, very good. Go on.
Connor, if I remember correctly, isn't he director of football at
the director of
Sligo, or is it head of the academy or something?
Academy, yeah, that's what it was. Jess, I think, was on commentary, and she said he was the head of the academy. But they go 2-0 up, and you kind of think, oh, this is game over, and this could be any score. But like Sligo just keep plugging away, and they get a really good goal. But at the same time, I don't ever think that Treaty looked like losing the game. I think they were professional how they went about it. And it's said like they've had these really good performances, and the funny thing, it probably wasn't one of their better performances of the season, but it's the one they get the result in, which is probably ironic when I'm singing their praises all season. But look, I'm sure they'll be coming back down the road happy that the most important thing was that they got the result. But yeah, look, I honestly know I was very impressed with Sligo, and I think they'll focus on the cup game now this weekend. They're definitely improving, and instead it is hard for them. We talk about it every week. It's very hard for them, but they're never found wanting. And again today, I was really impressed with them, and I was impressed with their attitude in particular.
Yeah, no, that is true. Big weekends for both next weekend in the Cup, but we'll get to that as well. We're a long way in now already, and we're only starting to review the All-Ireland Cup final. I have one sentence here in my notes. Awful
I was going to say, I know we're a long way in, but it wasn't a very good game, so it should be a quick enough review.
Yeah, it's all I have. It's all I have.
No, if you liked defending, it was a very good game, but I don't like defending. I only want to see loads of goals. I think we've established that now. But defensively, the two sides I thought were excellent. But their game never kind of really, neither keeper had much to do. Galway, I know, hit the post in the second half. To be fair, Jess Berlin makes an incredible save from that Zambra shot late on. I thought it was gone in, it was a brilliant save. And it's the fact that she probably hasn't had any big saves to make. It's that alertness at that time of the game to be able to get down. It was an incredible save. It was I suppose if you kind of are somebody who likes watching football tactically and seeing sides trying to feel each other out, maybe it was enjoyable. I'm not, so I don't think it was that enjoyable. I was delighted it went straight to penalties, to be honest, although it was probably opening up a little bit as it went on. I know Collie O'Neill has said at times this season that they don't set up, they definitely set up with Julianne in mind. In the first half in particular, anytime she got the ball, there was 2 or 3 of them on her. I think that died off just because I think tired legs in the second half. But Shamrock, Jess Hennessy did a brilliant job on her in the first half. But there was always someone in there with her. But Maria Reynolds was one-on-one with her a good few times in the second half. And I thought she did such a good job. And she did a brilliant job in the previous game in the league, and Tala marking her as well. I think Julianne became more involved once she only had one player, but they were still able to kind of defend in a way that she wasn't able to get direct and wasn't really able to create an awful lot. So I think they've probably given sides a blueprint to contain Julianne a little bit. And to be fair, at the moment, if you contain her, you're kind of containing Galway a lot. Obviously, that changes when you have somebody like Emma who would come back in for a league game. But yeah, I said I was kind of glad to see it go to penalties because, just not the greatest of spectacle. Brilliant crowd. I have to give massive credit to Galway and Shamrock Rovers. Both of them have been brilliant, with their coverage on their social media all week. They've really pushed it. I think Galway had 3 buses that went down, which is that's incredible. And you could hear their support. They had pyro at the end. Absolutely brilliant to see. You could see an interview with Jess after the game with Aaron Clark again. And she was saying, she had some sunglasses one supporter was after giving her, and she was talking about just the amount of fan support they have, and they've the little kids bringing signs to the game, and these are all really good things to see. And we want to see more of it, but it's important to appreciate it when it is there. God, we love penalty shootouts. I don't know what to tell you. They had a lot of success with them last year. They've had a lot of success with them this year. The person you probably put your house on to score the penalty in their takers misses it. And look, that probably sums up penalties for me, but she's not going to worry about it too much. She's top scorer in the league this season, and they went on to win the game. So I don't think Jen is going to be losing sleep. You might lose a bit of sleep if you were roaring your celebration for saving her penalty in her face, but sure, look, we'll see.
Yeah, that was. I was going to leave. I was actually going to not mention it because it was just
it's just pure emotion. She's after getting a bit of going over on social media for it, but it's just emotion. There's no badness in it. Okay. It's a stupid moment, but said, it's not. I don't think there's any badness in it. It's just pure emotion.
Firstly, can I just say, because I'll forget it in a minute, you've given a lot of shout outs there to great things in the build up to the game and during the game and good performances last night and everything else. You forgot to give a shout out to the best thing about the whole night. Phil Trill's suit. All right. To be fair to Phil, that man can carry a suit, like, and he confirmed himself not just as the most dapper man in the Women's League of Ireland, but just the League of Ireland as a whole. I mean, what a number, the maroon tie, the whole shebang. Like, it was just, I thought it was outstanding. Absolutely outstanding.
Was it not giving 1996 Liverpool Cup final Spice Boys?
No, definitely
Sorry,
not.
Phil.
Definitely not. You're just referencing the jacket. No, that's no. That suit I was impressed with that suit. I don't care what anybody says. Phil, don't listen to her. She just doesn't appreciate good fashion, my man. That's all that was, you know.
Declan, tell me about, why did Galway get so many yellow cards? What was going on?
It's like I genuinely don't know what to say. Like, it was strange. Firstly, Alan Patchell obviously injured himself in the warm up. He was down to do it. If it was Alan was doing it, I'd expect everybody to get somewhat equal amounts of yellow cards. You know, there'd be one for everybody in the audience.
Like Oprah, you get a card, you get a card.
Yeah. Alan Oprah, that's what I'm going to call it from here on in anyway. Cards for everyone. I remember the old, there's one for everybody in the audience stuff on the Late Late Show years ago. That'll be another one, you know. Alan Gayburn Patchell. Woo! One for everyone in the audience. But anyway, we're getting off track again. Yeah, look, I don't know. Obviously, Alan got injured in the warm-up. He didn't do the game. He reverted to fourth official. Jason Moore came in and did it. I'm not sure that, Belichick's booking was nonsense. I mean, I have no idea what that was for. Sorry, say that again?
Yeah, you said her name right, yeah, Belichick.
Oh yeah, sorry. I thought you were correcting me, because you often do, and they just go back and do it again. No, but yeah, I have no idea what that yellow card was for. Genuinely, the rest of them was like, okay, maybe so. Like, wouldn't have many massive complaints. The thing was, he just wasn't going to book a Shamrock Rovers player. Like, you know, there was the Jess Hennessy one where she, you know, threw Julianne Russell to the ground. He has a word with both of them, and Julianne Russell's kind of going, what the hell are you talking to me for? Like, you know, what's going on there? You know, I have the clue. What's the conversation about? Joy Ralph was just never going to be booked. And I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't want to see players booked, but it kind of has to be the same for both sides. And it did feel very much like it wasn't the same for both sides, to be fair.
Yeah, like
don't know quite what more to say on it. Yeah,
I think Eve Dawson was getting an awful kicking, and then the first time she fouled, like, she got booked. She was excellent as well. Look, I know Jess Hennessy got player of the game, and you couldn't
was very good.
You couldn't argue with it, but like, Eve could have got it, Maria could have got it, Ericsson could have got it. I thought defensively,
Kelly was brilliant.
Always, but like, as I said, like, you could have given it to a good few of the defensive players, because said it was just one of those games where defences really came out on top, and I don't think either side really figured out how to break the other one down. Like, even Steph's shot, it's a shot from distance, and that's like Aisling Meany where she hits the bar, it's a little bit further out, like, so it was just one of those games, wasn't it? But look, brilliant win for Galway. Like, it's never easy to go back to back in any competition, so they've went back to back in it. I suppose in an expanded competition, I think every side in the League of Ireland this year, at times last year, you could maybe argue that teams kind of rotated more. That didn't happen this year. I think every side wanted to win it. And like, huge credit to Galway. And like, my thing is, off the back of that result last year and that win last year, it gave them such belief that if they can recreate that bounce off the cup win, like, you have to fancy them, like, do you know? But it's just, can they get, because they didn't really even click last night, when I'm just looking back at last season and how they kicked on after the cup win, and with the players that they have, you just be like, yeah, they're certainly not counting them out yet. I think those little warriors in the West.
I feel like Warriors for the West. Yeah, fair play to him. Versus Phil, he was brilliant in the build-up. Like, he really was. Like, he'd handled the whole thing so well, in my humble opinion. Regular listeners to the pod, I guess, are sitting there for the last 5 minutes. Some are really frustrated now, kind of going, when are you going to get? What's he going to say about Shamrock Rovers? When's he going to get to it? When's he going to get to it? You know, like, Eileen, you and John both said in the last couple of weeks that if Shamrock Rovers win the All-Ireland Cup, then it's a successful season for them. They didn't. It was a penalty shootout. Look, I mean, you know, you win some, you lose some. I'm not hammering them for that in any way, shape or form. But as we sit here now, they didn't win it, so it's not a successful season yet. They've one shot left in the FAI Cup, but they have to play Shelbourne. Like, I don't know. Assess it for me, because I'm just going to be accused of all kinds of things if I assess it and call it a dreadful season.
Yeah, it's funny because I watched just before we came on, actually, Shamrock Rovers had a post-game interview up with Maria Reynolds, and like she said, like the standards they set being runners up isn't good enough. So, and that's a really honest feedback. Like, but if being runners up in a cup isn't good enough, like they are tearing their hair out at the league position. There's no doubt about it. Like, they'll know they've underperformed, and yeah, I do think there was an opportunity there. There was, of course, and it said, look, penalty shootout, play it 10 times and it'll be 5-5. Like, it's not. It's a pure lottery, but they've only got one shot left now with the FAI Cup to kind of make it any bit of, to pull their season out of the fire. And that's not easy, because you have Shelbourne, who are now hurting off the back of their first loss of the season. Shelbourne also hurting off the loss in the All-Ireland Cup semi-final to Shamrock Rovers. So like, it's a really tough game for them. But like, and as she said, and she was visibly very, very disappointed, and that's what you want. Like, you don't want anybody to be like, oh, sure, we got to cup final, aren't we great? Like, you want, and look at the players in their dressing room. They want to win stuff. Some of them are used to winning stuff, so they'll know it's not good enough. And I would think there'll be stuff looked at there in the off season, because I said it's like for a club, and I understand they've come back into the league, and the interviewer was saying, well, sure, this squad is only together 2 years, and Maria Reynolds said, yeah, we are only together 2 years, but we expect more of us because of who we have in the dressing room. And she's right. And again, it comes back to what your team is on paper and the players individually and the talent levels. And I suppose that's why I said, I get, like, we kind of see things a little bit differently, but like, there's no two ways about it. Like, they've went down from where they were at last season, I think. Performance wise, maybe not, but results wise, they have, like, so, yeah, it's kind of all on the FAI Cup now for them, and I think they'll come back in and they'll focus their heads on that quick enough, because it said they know themselves it's their last shot this season.
It's funny, like, because like, I don't want to, like, they've won 3 league games all season, you know. This is allegedly, supposedly, inverted commas, the biggest club in the country. And then they give out about us pointing out the fact that they've only won 3 league games all season. And the issue is us. It's not them. And I find that fascinating. I find that, you know, like madness, to be honest with you, you know. And like, I felt for Joy Ralph, and I felt massively for Scarlett Heron, because they missed penalties. But so what? Like, I mean, you miss penalties, you score penalties. It doesn't define anybody. It doesn't define the game. And for me, those 2 players missing penalties didn't define the game. What defined the game more so than anything else was, for the majority of the second half, that Shauna Fox was playing long diagonal balls, high balls, in on top of Joy Ralph, who's what, 5'2", you know? And kind of looking at this going like, how is this the tactic? How is this the way we want to play? You have, like, I keep saying it, that squad is so much better than what it's shown so far. I mean, Maria Reynolds, you know, Steph Zambra, Anya O'Gorman, Joy Ralph, Scarlett Heron, Aoife Kelly, Jess Hennessy, Shauna Fox. Jesus Christ almighty, like. And they've won 3 league games all season. And I'm the bad guy because I come on here and say they've only won 3 league games all season. Like, it's just nuts to me. And I know, like, it is what it is. And, you know, but like, it's like, I just don't understand it. I genuinely don't. And the thing is, if Phil Trill with his squad, or Kieran Kilduff with his squad, or anybody else with the squads, Owen Wearin with his squad, were performing like Shamrock Rovers have performed this year, we would be saying the exact same things about them. It's not an anti-Shamrock Rovers thing. It's an analysis of a massive underperformance, in my opinion. Massive underperformance by a squad of players. Does the responsibility for that underperformance lie with the squad of players? Or does it lie elsewhere? Does it lie upstairs? Does it lie with the management team? I genuinely don't know. I'm willing to have an educated guess. But, you know, que sera, sera. I openly said last year when this was a Cork City podcast that, in my opinion, Shamrock Rovers finishing third last year was a massive failure, considering the way they'd come into the league, considering the money they'd put together, considering the squad that they had. You disagreed with me massively, Eileen, at the time, and you still do. I understand that. It was just my opinion. And I said that in the last off-season, that in my opinion, Collie O'Neill should be under massive pressure. They're now 8th. They've won 3 league games all season. Like, do you know? How can he not be under pressure? You know? And I think people want to have these conversations or they don't want to have these conversations. I don't know, but I mean, and I'm not trying to be controversial, I'm not trying to be any of those things. Like, it's just, that's the way it is, like. And I think just because we're the only ones who have the conversations, then don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Maybe go and ask and have a look. And ask, why is there, you know, why are things working out this way? But look, it is what it is anyway, you know. I just thought their performance again was really, really poor. Now, I think Phil did them tactically, I think. You know, I think Galway were perfect tactically wise. And I'm sure they'll be, you know, they'd more of the ball and they'd way more possession and all that. Galway were happy to leave them have possession. The best chances in the game fell to Galway. They created the best goal scoring opportunities. Bar Steph Samber's shot from outside the box, which Jess Berlin makes a brilliant save from. I don't remember Shamrock Rovers creating a genuine clear-cut goal scoring opportunity. I know it's a cup final. I know it's always going to be tight. It's always going to be nip and tuck. I don't know. I hoped for the game and for the spectacle they were going to be better than what they showed. They weren't. Que sera, sera, as they say. We better move on because, as I said, we're a long way in. Next week's fixtures, Eileen, we can't even preview these now, to be honest with you. Cup quarterfinals, DLR and Sligo kick off at 3 o'clock. We were through that to a degree with Laura earlier on. Cork City and Bows, 5 o'clock, Turner's Cross. Massive, massive game for both clubs. Both club seasons on the line, basically, Eileen. I know we said we wouldn't preview them, but fundamentally that's what it is. It's a game that decides both club seasons.
Yeah, that's probably a little bit harsh. I would think, because I think both clubs are doing quite well in the league from what we would have expected. But obviously, in terms of competing for a trophy, yeah, it is. It's huge, and it should be a good game. The 2 games between them, there's nothing between them. I said earlier on, before the draw was made, I don't want to draw Bulls because I feel he might owe us one. But at the same time, the City side have kind of proven that once they can beat a side, then they believe that they can beat the side. And I think that's been a big issue for us for a long time. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be a cracking game of football. And I'm obviously always going to think Cork City will win.
Yeah. Athlone Treaty also kicks off at 5 o'clock on Saturday.
Should be a good game again. But I would fancy Athlone. I think they certainly know how to get to a cup final and they know how to win a cup. So yeah, I fancy Athlone for that one. Yeah.
And then Monday night, God, look, we'll do this next week. There's a whole other story again, I feel. Shamrock Rovers and Shelbourne is 7:45 on the Monday night. So once we're on time recording next weekend, Eileen, we should be able to preview it and have it out on the Monday for that. Galway and Peamount then, league game. Obviously, one of Galway's games in hand is fixed because they're both out of the cup. That's also fixed for 5 o'clock on Saturday. So 3 games at 5 o'clock on Saturday in case anybody wanted to watch a lash of games, you know. Que sera. Very quickly.
Postman pattern in black and white cat. The cat makes race. Early in the morning, one bag of man is yawning.
Right, Philly Crowley asks, what do the league or clubs need to do to increase attendances? The positivity around the World Cup last year doesn't seem to have been capitalised on. Surely from a business point of view, having 2 teams with good attendances in one club makes sense.
I think we've probably spoke about this an awful lot. I think free tickets is a big way. It's a big way forward. I know people don't like to hear that, but that's how clubs that are getting the bigger attendances in the UK at the moment have done it for a few years. You have to build your base that way, and that's getting into schools, getting into clubs and giving them free tickets. To be fair to City, there are free tickets for underage, but you actually have to I think you need to physically go out and give them the tickets. So they bring them home and say, oh, can we go to this game, as opposed to telling parents go online to get them. I think that's a big thing. You then have your parents paying in, but I think that has to be your target audience, and you hope then they grow. As I said, we've seen it to be very, very effective in the UK. But the main thing for me, and it's John's point, and he's correct, make your players superstars. Have players that people want to go out and see. It's kind of straightforward enough. I think clubs are doing an awful lot better with it. I think Shamrock Rovers and Galway in particular are probably doing the best job of it. They're getting their players out there. They've little bits on social media with all different players. And as I said, I just make your players superstars so people want to go out and see them. So I think that's the real big one for me.
Finally, Duncan Noonan asks, is it harder for country-based clubs to recruit players and things like that because of the amount of Dublin clubs in such a close area? So obviously I think he's talking about the fact that there will always be options in and around Dublin for players based in Dublin. So is it harder then for regional clubs to recruit players?
I presume that question was for Laura, not us.
Maybe so. It was in the mailbag, I don't know.
No, I do think, but you had said we have Laura Heffernan on tonight, like in the mailbag thing. So
yeah.
But I think there's probably pluses and minuses. I think Dublin clubs will always, the same in the men's game. Look, they're probably always going to have the pick of players because that's kind of at the moment where the money is in the league as well. So that helps them. They have some successful clubs up there. They have clubs with big names, big history, maybe even though it's not in the women's game. But like you could see, and look, as clubs like Galway, I suppose Wexford are probably the best example to use, that even when they were very successful, they struggled to attract players out beyond Dublin. We're only really seeing it in the last couple of years where girls are willing to travel. We always saw that players just automatically would travel to a Dublin club, but now they're seeing like, oh, I could travel to Athlone or I can travel to Galway. So I think as those clubs get bigger and compete more, we're seeing players, as I said, not just looking at Dublin as where I have to be, which I think is why the league is probably more as competitive as it is now.
Okay, very good. On that note, I think we will end it there. Are there any shout-outs you need to give this week, Eileen? It's becoming a traditional thing now at this stage.
Yeah, just a big shout-out to Douglas Hall there and their cup win yesterday. Up the hall.
Again, nice of them to show up and play. I'll say it every time. Okay, so with that, we are probably done. Can I just say, if this podcast does officially come out and it's named Titanium Tits, it's not my idea, okay? So Eileen's giving it the thumbs up now and the fist up, so we'll see what happens in the group chat later on. But listen, as always, thanks a million for listening, and we will be back next week when John will return to regale us of tales from Spain.
Adios.
Las Damas, your weekly unofficial SSE Airtricity Women's Premier Division podcast with Declan McCormack, Eileen Ring and John O'Sullivan.
Find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.